Alright, so what is up? Another one coming at you again, another one today. Today we're going to be talking about a little speculation on what I think we're going to see from Shinra moving forward in the Final Fantasy VII Remake games. I'm excited about speculating on where the story might go, and that's kind of what I'm doing these days, kind of using the big brain, the big theory brain to think about where certain aspects of the story might go. I think all the really good theories are out there, right? The ones that people are really talking about, or they're either sick of talking about, they've talked them to death or whatever. I feel like all the good theories are out there. They've been talked about, and everything else now just kind of feels like a watered down version of stuff that's already been talked about. So what I want to do now is I want to get you all thinking about where we could be going in the story. Now, that's not to say this is where things are going in the story. I just think these are directions and narrative paths that could be interesting, could be fun, if they choose to go this way. So, before we get into all that, the business, if you all would, follow me on Twitter, Kaufman20XX, on Twitter and Instagram. I got all kinds of cool stuff going up there all the time. Patreon, consider becoming a YouTube member or a Patreon member. I do have some double dippers, so thank you all so much for those that are double dipping out there. Patreon.com/Ray Kaufman. Appreciate the hell out of all the support you all give me. It's a fantastic way to support me and my content as I'm getting it up. And also follow me on twitch.tv/Ray Kaufman. So, with all that out of the way, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, click the bell so you know when I got new stuff coming up. And we're doing Q&As now 2 times a week. This week I'm gathering up all the best questions that I think that I haven't really addressed or I want to talk about or whatever in the comments section. So if you have a question for me, leave it in the comments section. Try to keep it, you know, at least within 2 or 3 sentences. Because some of these like run-ons that are like, it is way bigger than that. And then in the middle somewhere there's a question. So try to keep it to a couple sentences if you can. I appreciate that because that makes it easier for me to go over in the video. So with all that out of the way, let's get right into it today. We are talking about where's Shinra going? What's going on with Shinra? So what I think is really cool since the original Final Fantasy VII came and went in 1997 and, you know, changed everybody's outlook on what a video game could be and the story you could tell in a video game and all this other kind of stuff. There's the compilation, there's different works that have been written, cell phone game, all that kind of stuff, that dive into the kind of the deeper inner workings of Shinra, especially after President Shinra dies. Rufus takes over, what his true motivations are, what is he, and what does the company become with him at the helm. So there's a lot of stuff out there, right? If you all don't know, Before Crisis sheds light on the fact that Rufus Shinra is actually kind of helped bankroll Avalanche a little bit, you know, in secret. You know, he's kind of like working Avalanche against Shinra and all this. There's this whole power struggle that's going on. But without getting into all of that, but keeping that stuff in mind from the compilation, I think it's fair to say that that stuff will be present in the narrative of Final Fantasy VII. Now, whether or not it's a focal point of a certain chapter of the story, or if it's just kind of like a through line in the background, you can talk to people, you can hear things. Like, a lot of the story of Final Fantasy VII Remake is told through the different chatter that you hear from different citizens of Midgar as you're walking around the slums, as you're walking around up on the plate, or in Shinra building, what have you. A lot of the story is told through chatter, and if you're the type of person like me that takes time to talk 2 or 3 times through to all the NPCs to hear all their little lines of dialogue, then you know there's a lot in the story that is told that way, and you only get that way, really. So I feel like a lot of Shinra's revelations will be told that way. I do hope they dedicate time in the actual narrative of the game to give us dedicated time to figure out what's going on with Shinra, because Rufus Shinra is a fascinating character. He's a fantastic character, but so are the other characters within Shinra. You got Scarlet, you got Heidegger, you got Heidegger. I say Heidegger. If that's wrong or right, I don't care. That's how I say it. You know who I'm talking about. Then you've got Palmer, and you've got Reeve, of course, and then of course you've got Hojo. And it's really fascinating because I said a lot of times when I'd be live streaming Final Fantasy VII Remake, and anytime, especially that shot at the end where Rufus is behind the table, sings his new right hand, as Heidegger was the right hand of President Shinra. Now it's saying the right hand of President Rufus. And then you had the lineup, right? All those characters I just mentioned. It felt like a rogues gallery from a Metal Gear Solid game. It really did to me. It felt like if Hideo Kojima had kind of redesigned the Final Fantasy VII rogues gallery from Shinra, this is kind of how it would stack up. Because they all have like these wildly different personalities. They're very eccentric. And that's an extension from Final Fantasy VII. That's not new to Remake. That's how they were in Final Fantasy VII as well. But they expounded upon them. And with voice acting and facial animation and stuff like that, you really get that. It comes through so much more now. And I think that's one of the fascinating things about Remake. I think we're going to get a lot of division in Shinra moving forward. Dare I even say maybe a power struggle for the company as we get toward the end of the story. I could see somebody like, Heidegger and Scarlet. We know they have a team up with Proud Claude at the end of the game. I don't know if that will play out that way. Heidegger seems to come off less of a bumbling villain now and more of a serious threat. That's how I took Heidegger in the game. I really thought he was portrayed well. And the moments when he would get dark, Like, it wasn't like bumbling villain horse laugh. But that being said, I hope he still has the butting heads with Rufus about his horse laugh and stuff. They have got to have the scene in Costa del Sol where he just runs people off and kicks people off of the side of the dock into the water and chases people off. That's got to be in there, man. Please let that be in. Please let that be in there. That's one of my favorite. That's one of my favorite Heidegger moments. But Scarlet played a huge role in Intermission, and we kind of saw firsthand what it is she does and who it is she is. Like, she's almost. It seems like she is maybe just as responsible as Hojo for Deepground. Now, we don't know in Remake how tied to Deepground Hojo is. He obviously has ties, right? He obviously has a hand in the cake that is being baked in Deepground, right? But who has more control of that? Is it Scarlet or is it Hojo? Because in Intermission, when Scarlet is addressing Nero, she talks to him differently than she talks to anybody else in the game. Like, you can tell there's a bit of respect and fear from her toward Nero and toward these Deepground guys, that they are no joke. They are crazy. He could turn around and chop her head off if he wanted to. She's very careful with him. I thought adding that little bit of her in there added a lot to her character, because otherwise she's pretty one-dimensional. She's flat. She's I'm the over crazy lust for power villain. That's all I am. It showed a different level to her character, and I felt like they did that with all the characters in Remake, and especially with the Shinra characters. The Shinra characters show different levels. Palmer is not really expounded on too much. They really went in deep to Hojo. And Scarlet, Heidegger and Hojo, I felt like they went really deep in with. And Scarlet not so much until Intermission. Now, we know Reeve. We know what Reeve is, and we know he's a very deep character. For those who haven't played Final Fantasy VII Original, I don't want to get into too much of that, because I know I'm very spoiler in these videos, but that one I won't touch. But Reeve is very deep, right? There's a lot going on with him. Palmer, we didn't get a whole lot with, but I feel like as we get into the Sid Highwind stuff, I feel like we'll get more Palmer. So, and that will be moving forward. Of course, Sid Highwind not in this game, so we won't get that much Palmer, but I feel like that is coming. The direction I think they're going with Shinra could be fascinating. I think there's going to be a power struggle. I think you're going to see a lot of the characters going back and forth. As more Avalanche stuff comes to light, I think we're going to see more Rufus stuff. His ties to Avalanche. And I think that story will be told through Barrett, Tifa, and the other Avalanche members we get to know. Possibly even Yuffie, maybe. But we'll have to wait and see. the Shinra stuff is very interesting. I think when you get into, especially Rufus Shinra, you start at the top. President Shinra was a good character too, but he's not in the story for very long. I think the things he did and the person he was will resonate throughout the games because of how he established Shinra and how Rufus is going to try and change Shinra. The Turks are going to play a huge role. The Turks are going to play a massive role. And I'm really looking forward to that Sing boss fight. I gotta have that Sing boss fight. You never got that in the original game. I want to see how badass Sing is. We gotta know. We gotta find out. This is it. This is the last chance, right? This is the last chance. So we gotta see how badass Sing is. We've already seen a lot of depth of character from Rude and Reno in the first game. There's a lot going on with those characters. Man, I love that. I love how they fleshed out those characters. And you kind of... You're going to see that with Sing as well. You're going to see that with Sing as well, because Sing does care about Aerith. He does care about Aerith. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there, especially when Aerith dies. I think Aerith will die. I think it'll be different than it was in the original game, but I think she will die. I think they'll surprise us with how she dies, and I think it'll be sudden. I think it'll be very sudden. I think it'll be a shock the way it happens. And that's just my take. That's just my thought. So... And for those of you all who've been following the channel for a while, you know kind of what I'm thinking on that. So it'll be interesting to see how Sing reacts to that. Because there, in the original Final Fantasy VII, there were some balls that got dropped, right? Narratively, because I don't know if it was just the writing team wasn't big enough to keep up with everything that was going on there, or what. But after Sing falls in the Temple of the Ancients, he's not dead, but that's it. Like, that's a wrap. I don't think you see Sing again after that. After Aerith dies, no nothing, no message, no little thing you find where Sing has emailed somebody. Of course, Sing is a straight-laced company man, so he wouldn't let his emotions be seen. But he seems to be a little bit different with Aerith. And they did allude to the fact that he did slap her in Remake. Everybody's like, oh, he didn't slap her in Remake. Yeah, I think he did, because she had a bruise on her cheek. And he went to do that, and she kind of flinched like he was going to do it again. So I don't know. Sing is an interesting character, and all the Turks are interesting, but they all answer directly to Rufus. So that will be interesting to see how that works, especially with the Avalanche stuff going on, because I feel like Sing has an idea, or knows, because he's so tightly linked with Rufus, that Rufus has something to do with Avalanche. I think the only two people that know are Rufus and Sing. And I think that will play into the narrative especially. I think Sing kills Heidegger. I do. Because I think that Heidegger is going to be pissed with Rufus about something. I think Heidegger will want to start a plot against Rufus. I don't know, to take the throne or whatever, but I could see some intrigue that way. And I could see that, after you have your final boss fight with Heidegger, whenever that is, when you go back to Midgar or whatever, Heidegger's retreating, and there's a scene where Sing kills him, or something like that. I could see that happening, because the story is going to be dark, and it's going to be deep and intricate, and a lot of gray. So I'm here for it. I'm looking forward to it. So that's my early thoughts on Shinra and the direction that Shinra could be going. I think it could be. I think we're in for a wild ride with the storytelling going forward, and I'm really excited to start seeing some stuff. I've been thinking a lot about just the kind of more grounded aspects of Final Fantasy VII, and not so much the fantastical stuff with the experiments and soldier candidates and members and who might be coming and who might not be coming, and the super powered characters or whatever. The real meat of Final Fantasy VII is kind of the normal people, those who either are starting to realize, proper English there, who are starting to realize that they are damaging the planet, and those that have already realized they're damaging the planet and trying to do something about it. You're thinking about Avalanche, thinking about Barrett, Tifa, you're thinking about Biggs, Wedge, Jesse, characters like that, and of course, rest in peace, Wedge and Jesse. Biggs is alive. I think Wedge and Jesse are dead. I do. If if I'm wrong about that, that's cool. That's just my thought. You know, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just what I think. But and then you think of the Shinra characters. Reeve, I think Reeve has an idea. Reno and Rude are starting to wake up to the idea that, man, this is, I mean, we're making good money and we're totally taken care of, but really, dog, we just killed like all those people, really. And Sing's like, well, just think of it as giving energy back to the planet. And Rude's like, you really believe that? You know, you're starting to see some kinks in the armor and some minds changing among the characters already. So I'm really excited to see where that goes. But that's my thoughts on Shinra moving forward. If you all dug that, throw a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. Consider being a YouTube channel member or a Patreon member right over here. So many people have been signing up lately, and I'm so fortunate and blessed, and I appreciate all of you all. You'll see those names scrolling here at the end of the video in just a moment. So, with that being said, new video coming tomorrow, and keep these things rolling Monday through Friday. We're gonna have videos going up all day, Monday through Friday. So you all have a great day out there. Be safe, be good to each other, and keep rocking. I will see you all in the next video.